All right, hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what makes the perfect workout or what makes a workout good. This video is going to be kind of catered towards, or at least mostly catered towards the general population. I get a lot of people saying things to me like, I don't know how to work out or I don't know where to start. So I want to kind of go over some of the things that you should be thinking about as you consider starting an exercise routine, and also kind of along the same line, some of the things that you probably don't need to be thinking about. So starting off, the first thing I'm going to get into with anybody I work with is always going to be scheduling. Okay, the first step that needs to happen is to establish a sustainable time commitment, right? Establishing consistency. And there's a lot of flexibility in this. I work out for 2 hours 6 days a week, and I consider that absolutely a luxury. It's not necessary. It's not necessary for your health. It's not necessary for your physique. Kind of a minimum standard that I set, 2 sessions a week, even at 30 minutes, is going to be plenty for you to look better, feel better, and move better than 99% of the population. Okay, just an example or two examples I'll give you of a 30-minute workouts that I do. Right now in the evenings, I do some cardio. It takes me 25 minutes. What I do is 20 8-count bodybuilders, and then I run half a mile. And I repeat that until I've done 100 8-count bodybuilders and ran a total of 2 miles. So it's full body. I get a lot of different activity going on. Another example is a 34-minute dumbbell circuit that I do. All you need is two dumbbells in the ground, and it's full body. 10 exercises. It takes 34 minutes. There's a lot of different options available. Okay, but both of those are just examples of countless numbers of workouts that give you a respectable stimulus across a wide range of physiological performance variables. If you do that 2 times a week and put some effort into it, that's going to be plenty for you. So really the purpose of starting with a schedule is to get some honesty, but to establish some consistency, something that we can stick with. A plan you're not going to follow is meaningless. I can write an absolutely brilliant 5-day workout plan for you, but if you're going to skip day 5 every time because you like to go out or something, and you only get day 3 every once in a while, it's better for me to just give you a 3-day plan that is complete. That's perfectly fine. You're probably not missing out on anything, but there has to be consistency, and we have to be committed to whatever the routine is, and that's where it's always going to start. And having that schedule is what's going to determine how we make choices for exercises and whatnot in over the course of that plan as well. So after that, we're going to look at your goals, right? And so we're going to choose exercises that are appropriate for your goals. And there's really only 2 ways this can go, or at least I like to simplify it into 2 ways. One is, most people, the vast majority of people, they just want to, be a little healthier and look a little better. They want to be, toned, which by the way means to have a modest amount of muscle and a relatively low level of body fat. But their goals are very general, and there's so many different ways to accomplish that. It does not take anything excessive or extreme to have a modest amount of muscle or to be in good aerobic condition. So if their goals are generic and we're just kind of looking for health and physique, then my recommendation is to choose exercises based on what we enjoy. There's so many different training venues. And look, whether you go to the gym and you do some bench press, you get in the pool and do some swimming, or you stay at home and do push-ups, you're going to have modestly well-developed arms either way. Certainly better than the vast majority of the population who aren't exercising at all. So there's so many different options in your training. We're going to focus on finding the ones that are enjoyable to help you with that commitment that we want to be sustainable. Of note there is an increasing need for resistance training in certain situations. One is for independent aging. Okay, it's really sad to see, grandma not be able to get up the stairs, or grandpa, he can't sit down on the floor with you or in the grass or something because he'll never be able to get back up. That's because, in almost every case, that's because they're weak. Okay, so for independent aging, to maintain functionality throughout a long, happy life, resistance training or some modest amount of strength training becomes increasingly important. Additionally, for hypertrophy, okay, um, if your modest physique goals even include as you want more and more muscle or hypertrophy, right, which is muscle growth, you're going to become increasingly reliant on adding heavy weights or heavier weights into your program. But for the most part, look, if you just want to look and feel good, you do what you like, you're going to have a lot of success. So from a coaching perspective, the objective is to introduce new exercises and get feedback and help individuals find out what they want to sustain for an extended period of time. The other way this can go with your goals is if you have a specific performance goal. Say if you're an American football player and you want to be able to change directions faster, maybe you want to you want to run a half marathon in a certain time, something like that. This is where we introduce specificity. And specificity is just the idea that the body's response to exercise is specific to the exercise that's being performed. And this requires a small amount of knowledge. The more extreme your performance goals are, the more reliant you might be on someone who's educated, an actual professional in the field, for knowledge in anatomy and physics, which combined just means biomechanics as well as physiology, right? But we want to design or implement exercises that will induce a the appropriate target physiological response. Um, so between setting a schedule and having your goals, that is 90% of your programming. There is so much flexibility. There's a lot of different things you can try out, and there's a lot of different exercises available. But if you have a consistent schedule and you understand what you're trying to accomplish, that's 90% of the work. Okay, the rest of the work is what I like to refer to as micro variables, things that are much, much less important. And of note, as you pursue more and more advanced levels of fitness, these do become more important. But for the vast majority of you, even for me, yeah, in most cases, these just are not so important. For the most part, what we're going to be doing is choosing exercises that are appropriate for our goals and getting good at them. Okay, and there's a lot of different ways to get good at them. But here are the exercise. We call these program variables. But starting off with frequency, right, which is just how often are you training, and this is specific to a muscle. If you're how often are you training your chest muscles, for example, and 2 times per week is kind of the golden standard. There might be a reason to do more than that. Sometimes higher frequency could be more effective, but in every case, 2 times a week is going to be at least effective. Okay, 1 times a week, you're probably missing out a little bit, and that's just because that just has to do with the physiological process, the specifics of muscle development, right? When you exercise, you stimulate adaptation, right? And it's roughly a 3-day cycle that we see, and so hitting it again halfway through the week is going to facilitate that process again. Next up is the order of exercises that you perform, right? And generally, we can say perform them in the order of least fatiguing exercises to most fatiguing, and that's just with the idea of, well, so that we kind of maintain our stamina and can perform fairly well on all of the exercises. Alternatively, we could start with most important to least important, right? And that's so we're putting most of our effort into what we might like to do. But there's some give and take, and you can, you might have to balance those two different options. And some people will intentionally train in a fatigued state, and that you're going to get better at both exercises, right? If you do the fatiguing one first, for that purpose, you're going to get better at both exercises regardless. So there's so much flexibility in all of these. As far as sets, um, And these same principles apply to whether you're talking about running or weightlifting or something, but the terminology is a little different, but the same principles apply. As far as sets in the gym go, it can be, there's still flexibility, right? It could be roughly, 2 to 8 per exercise is kind of what I like to say. I might do less sets towards kind of the 2 if I'm doing maybe super high repetitions, right? If I'm doing, say, lateral raises, I might do 2 sets of 30, maybe, right? I'd probably do more, but that's one example where I might include sets of 2. And then sets of 8 even, on something, if I want to do a lot of volume, if I want to get a lot of practice. Squats is an example where I do this. I do a lot of sets on squats because I think squats constitute such a huge portion of my leg training because they're such a glorious exercise. So I do a lot of sets with those to spend more time and get more practice and get more volume in on such a fantastic exercise. But most of your work, 3 to 4 sets, just enough time to kind of get into the groove and challenge yourself a little bit on each exercise. 3 to 4 sets is a great place to be. As far as repetitions go, there's still a lot of variation. Similar hypertrophy has been similar muscle growth has been demonstrated in scientific literature with repetitions ranging, as high as 40, 50, and even higher. Um, so, I think saving time is um, a good reason to kind of keep the reps a little bit lower. Maybe it takes a long time to do a set of 50. Um, and then if you have goals of peaking at your intensity, say, whether that's you're running as fast as you possibly can or lifting the most weight you possibly can, you want to spend time lifting closer to that. So sets of 2, sets of 3 are going to be really important if you're preparing to do a 1 rep max set of 2. But for general purposes, sets of 8 to 10, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get bigger muscles. There's it's just a general recommendation, but there's so much flexibility. Rest as well. It takes a few minutes to get ready between a difficult set to have another difficult set to make both of them valuable. You have to spend time to get ready, but as soon as you are, go ahead, right? And there's kind of some give and take. Are you ready? You want to make sure you're ready, but on the other hand, you don't want to be wasting time. You don't want to be sitting around for 4 or 5 minutes if you don't have to. As well as, something related to this, if you do a set of squats and you think you need 5 minutes to get ready again, I would pose the question: maybe you're just out of shape, right? Maybe you should go for a run or something. Having good, aerobic fitness is an important component of energy regeneration. Um, so just things to consider, but there's some flexibility is there. Most importantly, just make sure you're getting good sets in. You've chosen your exercises, get good at them. Take your time. There's so many different ways to approach it. Just put some effort into the exercise. If you're seeing progress in any way over time, you're going to be getting bigger and stronger. So in a lot of ways, what I've kind of said is, well, a lot of things just don't matter, and that's exactly right. Especially at beginner and intermediate levels. Okay, at more advanced levels, again, these smaller details might be more important. But if you're, for example, if you're a full-grown man and you bench press 200 pounds, you've made some progress that's above average, but it's certainly well below your potential. That's still a range where you should be able to easily increase muscle. And so at that type of level, your exercise program is not going to be the problem if you're not seeing progress. Okay, there are other things you need to consider because if you are a full-grown man bench pressing 200 pounds, even touching the bar twice a week should be plenty for you to see continued progress. So there are other things you have to think about as well, which is, are you putting effort into it? Are you consuming enough protein? Are you eating enough calories? Especially in something like, or eating too many calories, right? In something like running, your weight might be a serious factor holding you back. Sleep, are you sleeping well? Your mental health, and then drugs and alcohol. Okay, things like caffeine, right? I like caffeine. I use caffeine, but caffeine abuse and misuse, as well as nicotine and alcohol and things like that, have serious detrimental impacts on your mental health and just your stress levels in general. Right, but your mental health, it's a mistake to differentiate that from your physical health. Okay, the endocrine system's involved. They're very much related. Okay, you have to take care of yourself, but these are just examples of lifestyle factors that are so important, so much more important than the minute details of your programming. Okay, so just to summarize, you need something that you can stick to. It has to be something you can be consistent with, and that's your schedule. But there's so much flexibility in that. Don't feel pressured into anything. Find what you're ready to stick to, and that's your schedule. Okay, and then choose the exercises you want to get good at based on your goals. Get good at them. That's what it's going to boil down to. And then if you're putting some effort into it, you're going to see a lot of progress. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful. There's so much flexibility. I don't like to see people feel like they're cornered into certain things, or like they have to figure out the next best way. You don't need that, right? It's not complicated. Um, so enjoy it and relax a little bit. Other than that, I wish you all luck. Hope this was helpful, and peace out.